You may have seen recently the release of PvZ3, a revolutionary game when it came out in '07, and now it's taken an interesting turn. One thing I do want to address before I get too far into this video is that I do not think this EA bad trend is really valid, actually. Pretty much all the best Plants vs. Zombies games, in my opinion, came out under EA. Now, obviously, a lot of people do enjoy the original, and you would not have any of the subsequent games without the original. But my personal favourite is Garden Warfare 2. I know, you might disagree, that's okay. But Plants vs. Zombies 2, Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare, Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare 2, and yes, the hated Battle for Neighborville, and I guess Plants vs. Zombies 3, which I'll get into what I think of that in a minute, also came out under EA. However, the EA bad rhetoric I really just don't buy. I mean, EA upscaled PopCap to a world-class studio, which, yeah, in recent times maybe hasn't been producing the heat that we'd want it to, but it still, regardless, has made some classics, in my opinion. The original Plants vs. Zombies, it must be said, is untouchable, in my opinion. It is one of the best games of the 2000s, if not the best, in my personal opinion. Now, Plants vs. Zombies 2 came out and was, again, hugely successful, very good game, and that came out under EA. So again, this whole rhetoric of, oh, EA just make bad games. Yeah, they make a lot of bad games. I'll say that as someone that played FIFA and, Star Wars Battlefront 2 when it came out. They're not good games. I mean, well, Battlefront 2 now is playable and kind of fun, but none of the FIFA games are. And I wasted years on those games. Back to PvZ. These games, especially Plants vs. Zombies 3, feels awful. It doesn't feel like a Plants vs. Zombies game. And I'll tell you this for free. Firstly, it is the world building. And I know quite a lot of people are going to be like, oh, Plants vs. Zombies, when's it ever really had world building? I mean, most people that play the games don't even know that there is genuine lore in Plants vs. Zombies. And that's fine. But the way I look at it, it's just so generic. It's soulless almost. And listen, it's difficult to say that when you've got characters like Crazy Dave and his niece. They're interesting little quirky characters, but I don't know. There's something missing. And I think that something is the fact that Plants vs. Zombies has been around for so long, and there was a little bit of a gap between the last game, Battle for Neighborville, which I believe came out in 2018, and this coming out in 2024. Obviously, the happiness iterations have come up beforehand, but a lot of the qualms that people haven't really been solved. I mean, one of the main things I think people will get angry about with this PvZ game is the lack of ability to choose your characters, which is like quintessentially what PvZ is. Now, the main issue is when you load into a game now, where you used to be able to see the enemy first, and then it would go onto the selection screen where you choose, oh, I want this sun producer, or I want this pea shooter, or I want this, and this, right? You can't do that anymore. It just gives them to you for you. And they were gimmick levels back in PvZ2 and PvZ1. There would be levels where they just give you them and say, this is what you're working with, go on. And they were challenging. But when that's the entire game, you're taking an entire dimension out of the game. And that's the strategical element of, right, there's a Conez. I need to bring a repeater or something along those lines, right? There's none of that in PvZ2 because the game is forcing you to play in your way. And I think, even though we're not expecting every game to be Dungeons and Dragons where you can do anything you want, thinking outside the box and coming up with your own strategies versus getting told exactly what you want to do, I don't know. That feels like you're working, when you're being told by a supervisor, this are the devices you're using, now do this. And I know at the end of the day, like, devs are making plans, and, even in Plants vs. Zombies 1 and 2, there's only a limited amount of things you can do. But the further limit that anyway, I don't know, it doesn't sit right with me, and it doesn't feel like a Plants vs. Zombies game, of old. And I get it, maybe they're trying to gamble, maybe they're trying to take that leap, making Plants vs. Zombies Battle for Neighborville and, well, even the Garden Warfare series off a mobile game was a bold leap, and maybe they were trying to do that again, thinking that this new art style, which I hate, to be honest, and this new way of playing the game, and this kind of almost Gardenscapes aesthetic, would really work. And listen, there's definitely stuff to work with from that. I do actually quite like the Gardenscapes kind of like inspiration of fixing up Neighborville and there being rewards for like you progressing and stuff. I don't mind that. What I do mind is the way the art style is projected and also how the game just there's no maneuverability. And that's something that I've always found really enjoyable about Plants vs. Zombies. Is the ability to kind of go like, I find this plant cute, so I'm going to use it, or these two work really well together, and it's something that I don't think other people will do. But that's personally me. That's what I run. Finding out combos that work for you, for whatever reason. Sometimes it's like I literally like this vegetable. I'm going to use it. It's something as simple as that, and you can't do that in two. Sorry, in three. Another main criticism I have of just the Plants vs. Zombies franchise right now is that, listen, a lot of people that grew up when Plants vs. Zombies came out are approaching senior, like, getting to the point of their lives where they're going to start having kids. You know, '07 is not that recently, which is depressing to say. Quite a lot of people watching this video are probably born after Plants vs. Zombies was created, which is a wild thing to think for me. But a lot of this kind of like, this game is a very well-known IP. EA are very respected company in the gaming industry, and it's true they are, even if, you know, we bash them for their many mishaps. This is an IP that is trusted by families, and a lot of people are comfortable with. And they need to take another gamble, I think. And listen, Plants vs. Zombies 3, as far as I'm concerned, is dead in the water. I am never going to play that game again. And it's a shame to say because I do love the franchise. But it was the exact same with Battle for Neighborville. Played it a little bit, just kind of was like, listen, it wasn't Battlefront 2. It wasn't pay to win with a Darth Vader equivalent where you were like, you know, the worst launch ever. It was more of like a Cyberpunk launch, obviously without the hype, or with a lot less hype. Like, it just wasn't a functional game, a playable, finished, polished game when it came out. And that's something that, you know, we've seen anyway, so it's not that surprising that a modern AAA title isn't, you know, sparkling and roses. My main frustration comes from the fact that, you know, I don't know if we're actually going to see that now. I think faith with PopCap seems to be at an all-time low. I mean, George Fan hasn't been involved with Plants vs. Zombies for nearly a decade. Quite a lot of the lead developers that when PopCap was bought out by EA disappeared. And listen, there's not a problem with that. There will be a lot of people in there that are super passionate about the projects that are coming out. You know, as much as people do want to point out the fact that EA are like these kind of hungry company that just grabbed PopCap for the money, which of course they did. They're a business. I don't know what you're expecting. But at the same time, they want to make money and they want to make a good product. I don't think they're ever going to release something that they're like, this is shit. That wouldn't make sense. That's what I really want them to do now. Pick up a new game. I would love it if they released Garden Warfare 3, because it's nearly been 10 years since the last Garden Warfare was released. And that makes me feel ancient, because shit, I used to come home from school and play that game. Wow, I'm ancient. I'm nearly retiring. Listen, I'm going to give this watch to my grandchild after this video as an heirloom. Yeah, I want them to make just a new game. And listen, is it going to be a crowd pleaser? Maybe. If it's Garden Warfare 3, there's a very strong chance. And if they just, you know, basically copy the template that Garden Warfare 2 was, but a bit grander, maybe a bit more modernized, and honestly, I think a lot of people would be very happy with that. But that's pie in the sky. Anyway, that's what I want. I would really love it because I think there is massively a market for it. It's a trusted IP. It's not going to be an 18. And it's a very unique IP that I feel like is being wasted at the moment. And it would be so nice because there is such an appetite for it. And it's a subconscious appetite as well. A lot of people will hear Plants vs. Zombies and they're like, there's a new shooter out? Damn, I want to try that out. It's definitely got the flavour of the month kind of vibe to it. And so I hope that happens. It would be amazing if it does. I just need to see Sunflower again. Listen, I'm so Sunflower build. Like, I just need it. Let's do it. Hopefully it happens, because I don't want this IP just to go down the toilet. Because that would be a massive shame and a waste of potential, because it is such a cool, unique idea that you can play off in so many different ways. So yeah, that's that. I will maybe see you soon. Who knows? Right, that's that. Cheers.